Hi, this video will show you how to use the assignment tool and how to set it up. So first thing, ensure that your turn editing on is on. Are you connected? Click on add activity and resource. We're going to select our assignment, say add. Okay, here we just need to name our assignment. I'm going to call it assignment 1. The description box is if you want to give students additional information. You could even upload your essay question in here, and this will be displayed on the course page. In my instance, I'm not going to use that because I don't want my course page to cluttered. As you can see here, additional files. If you have a reading dedicated for the assignment, it could be useful to just drop it in here. Students can go into the assignment, download their instructions and their question, and then complete it from there. What we have done before is we used the assignment tool for take-home exams or tests. So we would drop our test paper in here, and once it opens, we only open one link, it's not two. Students go in, they download it, complete it, and submit their test or assignment. Okay, if we scroll down to availability, here we can see, allow submissions from and our due date. These are very useful to use, and we also have a cutoff date. So a cutoff date is the very last day we want students to submit. Now I normally give them, depending on what type of assignment you are doing, I would normally add about a day or actually just a couple of hours, especially if I make mine a midnight. Well, this would be midnight on the 25th. I'd make this 25th, but 8 a.m. in the morning for argument's sake. It's just for those that really battled with internet connection or something like that. It just gives you the ability to have late submissions, but not be inundated with various emails from students. Okay, now if we scroll down, we've got submission types, and this is really important. And this is also where there's some variation in what we can do. So submission types we can set, so it goes to the Mahara, the RU Reflexive portfolio. So remember, each student has a Mahara profile, which we can use. Then we have file submissions, so that's simple, drop a Word file, a PDF, or actually any file type that we want. Then we can also select online text, but let's finish file submission first. So we can also choose how many files. It can go right up to 20. Which could be useful if we're thinking outside the box, if we want students to submit, for argument's sake, a lesson plan, or we would want them to create a presentation. We could have them drop in a PowerPoint file. Just see that we have a maximum submission file at the moment, and that's 50 megabytes. So it could be quite difficult to submit video at the moment. Okay, so that's file submission. If we click online text and we activate that, what this would mean is students would have a text box. At the moment, as we have it set up, they can submit a file or an online text. If we deactivate file submission, students can now submit a piece of online text. And what makes this useful is that it activates this word limit. And if we say enable, we can say we want students not to put in more than 500 words. And I think that could be very useful. So that's actually super interesting. For now, I'm going to activate both, and I'm going to activate Mahara portfolio. The activity that I'm setting up will be on the RU Teaching Online page. Okay, then if we scroll further down, we've got feedback types, and this is really what type of feedback you would want to give. So feedback comments is a block where you could give overall feedback. Feedback files, and I think working in the context that we're working now, feedback files would be advisable because we can download the entire class's submissions in a file structure onto our computer, mark them, and bulk upload them. And there's a separate video on that. Same with offline grading worksheet. We're able to download a Excel sheet with the entire class. If we're marking offline, we can just add the mark in there and bulk upload that file as well. Comment inline. If we say yes, what this would do is, and here it might be useful if we have a word limit on, because if we have students submit a 10-page essay, comment inline is not going to be very useful because it takes all the text that they submit and create a little block where you can comment inline in the block, but it doesn't pull through formatting and stuff like that. So useful if you're going for small, short assignments where you can comment inline, but that would imply you would need a stable internet connection to do that. Then if we go down to submission settings, require students to click the submit button. I sometimes leave it as no, so that student submissions don't get stuck. Require students to accept a mission statement. I also say no, because then they would have to click twice. If that is something that's important to you, you can click yes. Attempt reopened, never. Here we actually have options. So if a student submits at this moment, when they submit it, that's it. Or we can reopen it manually for them, or automatically until pass. And what makes RU Connected so cool is we've seen all of these options. There's this little question mark. The moment we hover around it, it'll tell us to click it. And here it'll actually give us an explanation. How student submissions are reopened. Never. Student submissions cannot be reopened manually. Student submissions can be reopened by a teacher, so that means our person self need to do that. Automatically until pass. The student submission is automatically until the student achieves a grade to pass value on the gradebook. So I think at the moment we don't really need to do that, because we're not going to mark, remark, remark, remark. I think that's useful if we want to do that. Okay, then we've got group submissions. Here we can have students do group work and submit in a group, and that's really what this function is about. So if we want students to submit in a group and we say yes, that means we already have groups set up on RU Connected. So one student or all students would submit the same paper or the same presentation, and we would just mark that and give them a group mark. So if that is something that we're interested in doing, we need to say students submit in a group, say yes. Require groups to make a submission. We can say yes, then each one needs to submit that. Or we can say no, and one person will submit, and that would then filter through. And you'll see the moment you say yes or no, this would require groups to make a submission. Then grouping for groups. I think we'll do a separate video on groups. What this means is we can have, for argument's sake, one class divided into 18 groups, all right, of let's say 5, but we want to put groups to work together in a larger group. So we can take we can take 4 groups of 3 to 4 and group them together into another group. So we're just creating complexity, but I'm just explaining what it is. But I'm going to set it now to no, because there's no groups on our page. Okay, then notification I think is a very important one, because the default setting is to notify students. Now what this means is as you mark and you say save changes, it sends an email to students that your assignment has been marked. So if you want to release the marks at the same time, I'd say keep this at no. If we click show more, notify graders about late submissions. I generally keep it as no, because we'll probably end up checking in on our page. But if we're going to be downloading a bulk group, it could be useful to know if we have people submitting late. So it could be useful. Then notify graders about submissions. I always keep it as no as well, because every time a student submits, you will get an email to say Neil has submitted, which can be quite tedious. So yeah, it's just keep that as no if you don't want to get emails. Notify graders about late submissions. I think it depends on your context. And default for notifying students also no. Okay, then the grade. This is just useful that we can decide how much is the maximum grade. The grade type is point. We can put in a scale, but it populates with these scales only. So, I mean, we'll have to play around with some of them, but I think generally most of our marking is going to be point. If you need to talk about scales, please contact EdTech and we can work on something together. But let's say we want our essay to count out of 20 marks. Maximum grade is 20. Grading method for most of our uses would be simple direct grading. We can give a marking guide or a rubric, but we will have to upload that. And again, if you're interested in using that, maybe contact EdTech. If we see a lot of need for it, we'll create the video for that as well. Grade categories is at the moment uncategorized, but we can set up our gradebook to already work out all of our marks. So if this essay is going to contribute 20% to the student's DP mark or final mark, we can already set up our gradebook with those weightings. And then we can assign that to this. So let's say we have a category of essay, we'll be able to set this to essay. Grade to pass, I think it's literally, if we want grade to pass is 50%, we'd make this 10. Blind marking is literally what it means. We can set the system so we do blind marking, so we'll not be able to identify the student. Use marking workflow, I always set it to yes. For the simple reason that if we want to release the marks at the same time, we're able to control how we release the marks. But I think if we go the real easy road, I'll keep it on no. If I start marking, I just hide the assignment, mark it, and then release it. The moment anything is hidden, students won't see anything. Okay, then common module settings. I want this to be shown. We can have it show or hide. Group mode is interesting. We can have this as visible groups or separate groups. Now, if we are using tutorial groups that we've set up on Are You Connected, we would want this to say separate groups. So let's keep with my example. If we have 18 tutorial groups and we've set this up on Are You Connected, and we have different people marking each one, we'll put this up as separate groups. What this will do when we start marking, it'll give us a space to say, I am group 1, 2, 3, 4, or whatever we've called our groups, and I can click number 4 and I'll only see the students in my group and only mark them. Restrict access, I don't think we're going to use that a lot. Um, but you can, if you click add restrict access, we can obviously prevent from a date until a date. This is just useful because it actually makes the entire assignment disappear once those dates have gone past. Or we could say grade, and what this means is it's conditional. So students must do, for argument's sake, we have a plagiarism quiz. They need to score 100% on that or 80% on that before this assignment becomes available. So it's useful if we want to make sure that they know what plagiarism is. Um, User profile, we can set it so that to limit only certain people getting access to it. Um, if we have groups available on our course, group would also become available here. Um, so we'll be able to say it's this assignment is only available for group 1. Then there's restriction set, so we can say we want it for a specific date, people need to have a specific grade in a specific quiz, and they need to be in a specific group. So we can cluster the different ones. The rest tags we don't generally use as much yet, and competencies the same. So yeah, there's quite a lot to think about when setting this up, but I think assignment could be super useful. Thank you so much for watching. Please watch next on how to bulk download and bulk marking. Thank you.